Hi, and welcome to another episode of Sony's Pro Audio Files. My name is Andy Munitz, Product Manager for Sony's Professional Audio Division, and in this video, we'll go into the specific operation and newest features of our latest UWP-D Wireless Microphone Series. So, if you already have one of our UWP-D packages, or are just looking to learn more about them, this video should give you lots of information on how to operate them and perhaps introduce you to some of the features that this product family is known for. So let's have a look. First up, a quick review of some of the basic features of this fourth generation UWP-D series. UWP-D Wireless is available in several pre-packaged configurations. These include the UWP-D21 ENG style package, which includes a body pack transmitter with lavalier mic, a portable diversity tuner, and all of the cables, belt clips, and a cold shoe bracket needed to mount it to many cameras. Also available is the UWP-D22 package, which has a handheld mic transmitter instead of the body pack. The UWP-D26 package is like the UWP-D21 package, but also includes a plug-on transmitter for use with an interview-style mic or boom mic, such as our F112 dynamic mic or ECM673. Finally, the UWP-D27 package, which includes the URX-P41D dual-channel receiver and two body pack transmitters with lavalier mics, with all of the cables, belt clips, and a cold shoe bracket. By the way, all of the UWP-D models are also available as individual components. It's also helpful to know that UWP-D transmitters have model names that start with UTX, and receivers have model names that start with URX. All components are made with solid construction for reliability and field use, and have a great Sony fit and finish. As the most important function of any wireless mic is reliability of signal, the UWP-D receivers employ a dual-tuner true diversity design, two discrete tuners, each with their own antenna, and a circuit that automatically switches to the stronger of the two tuners' signals, greatly protecting against the possibility of dropouts. This method of diversity reception, we feel, is superior to antenna-only diversity designs that use only a single tuner but two antennas, or even adaptive diversity designs that have only one tuner, one main antenna, but have the audio cable acting like a second antenna. The UWP-D series is capable of tuning in up to 2,772 channels in both our 14-block version, which operates in UHF TV channels 14 through 25, as well as our 25-block models, which operate in UHF TV channels 25 through 36. As well as a version that operates in our 90 block, which operates in the 941 to 960 MHz range. One of the major new features of this fourth generation series is that it allows for extremely easy one-button scanning and NFC syncing of your receiver and transmitter for finding and setting the best and quietest channel available for use every time you use it, something we'll go into further detail about in just a bit. This prevents having to dive into menus to accomplish this commonly needed function. The series employs digital signal processing, or DSP, of the audio to ensure great sound and preservation of the transient response of your audio signal. As well, the units employ useful features such as USB-C connectors for permanent powering when using a cell phone charger, and also have an accurate count-up battery timer, something that can really save on battery costs over the long run. Both body pack and plug-on transmitters allow for either mic or line-level input selection, and the plug-on transmitter even offers phantom power should you want to use it with a condenser mic for boom mic applications, for example. The UWP-D receiver also has a separate headphone output, great for DSLR or mirrorless cameras that don't happen to have a headphone jack, and utilize a very bright OLED display with extensive menu selections for taking advantage of their many capabilities. And finally, with many camera models from Sony's Alpha mirrorless lineup, as well as several new PXW series of camcorders, you're now able to take advantage of our multi-interface or MI-Shoe intelligent shoe design. The very latest Sony camera designs also allow for a direct digital connection from the receiver through our new digital-capable MI-Shoe, bypassing 2 analog converter stages. Note that on the SMADP5 MI shoe, there's a little switch that sends through either a post D to A analog version of the receiver's signal for compatibility with earlier Sony MI shoe-enabled cameras, or a digital position, which allows for a pre-D to A digital signal from the receiver to feed directly into the camera's video file on many of Sony's latest generation models, allowing for an even higher quality signal path into these cameras. This unique MI shoe design allows for a very quick and simple method of attaching the UWP-D receiver to these MI shoe-enabled cameras, allowing for audio from the receiver to route directly down through the SMADP5 or MI shoe adapter into the camera, without the need for an external XLR cable, and even allows for power to come up through the shoe from the camera's battery to power the UWP-D receiver, without the need for using internal batteries. This can even lighten things up a bit and make your camera rig a bit less heavy. A very useful capability, especially for run-and-gun applications. By the way, a mini to XLR and mini to mini cable are included with the receiver for connecting to most styles of cameras, as well as a cold shoe mount. Okay, so with that brief overview and introduction, let's dive into the menus of these units. By the way, whichever transmitter style you have, body pack, handheld, or plug-on, the menu operation is very much the same. But in this video, we'll demonstrate on the body pack transmitter. Before getting specific with the menus, notice that most units have a power button, which you'll need to hold down for about a second to turn the unit on or off. Also a set button on the left of the display, and plus and minus or up-down buttons on the right. Holding down the set button briefly chooses that menu for modification. As well, both the body pack and plug-on transmitters have a dedicated mute button. On both the URX-P40 and URX-P41D receiver, you'll see that there is also a dedicated NFC sync button for activating the receiver's channel scan feature. Also notice that these units have an NFC logo, which helps in easy setting and pairing up of the unit's channels, but we'll go into that specifically in just a bit. Now, a brief look at the URX-P40's receiver's display shows the following info. Starting at the top left is an audio level display, a bar graph battery meter, and A and B tuner signal strength meters. By the way, it's good that it constantly switches between the A and B tuner selection, showing that the diversity reception circuit is always giving you the strongest of the two signals. The next row shows your channel or frequency information. We go into more detail on the topics of channels and groups in a separate video that I hope you'll have a chance to look at, entitled Channels and Groups for UWP-D and DWX wireless microphones. But for now, notice that we're currently set to Group 00 and are operating within the UHF-TV 14 spectrum, and specifically on wireless mic channel 1401 within that much larger UHF-TV channel. By the way, if you're following along on your own gear, for the purposes of this video, you'll want to be in Group 00, most useful for when you're in a single wireless channel, one-man band mode. And finally, on the display is the actual frequency of the channel you'll be receiving or tuned into. Holding down the receiver's set button while on this screen will allow you to choose the group that the unit will operate in, and can also allow you to manually set the channel that the unit will receive. This is useful, for example, when you want to have multiple receivers listening in to the same transmitter, but we have a new super easy way of setting that up that we'll talk about in just a few. Okay, that said, first up, let's investigate the most common setting that you'll need to access: how to scan for the best available channel and how to sync up your transmitter to match. As finding the quietest frequency available at each location you shoot is critical for ensuring your best wireless mic experience, it must be easy to do and remember. As I mentioned, both the transmitter and receiver have NFC logos on their front panels. This is the same NFC logo that many cell phones have, by the way, commonly used for Bluetooth pairing. To start a scan, simply hold down the receiver's NFC sync button for about 3 seconds, and the scan will start. If in Group 00, in about 15 seconds, The receiver will have scanned 188 different frequencies and will pick the quietest one it found, and the one with the least amount of background interference from other wireless sources. The OLED display will now flash black and white, and all that you do then is hold the transmitter so that its NFC logo is directly facing the receiver's NFC logo, move it around a tiny bit if necessary, and in a second or two, the transmitter will vibrate, letting you know that the NFC link was successful, and both the transmitter's and receiver's display will now say complete. The units are now both set to operate on the same and quietest available frequency in that spectrum band. If you look back at the receiver's home display, notice that the channel strength for both the A and B tuners reads full and strong. One additional thing to mention is that our previous generation of UWP-D models employed an infrared or IR link style communication of the scanned receiver channel to the transmitter. It's good to know that our latest transmitters also have an infrared receiver hidden under the top panel just to the right of the NFC logo, and it will react to UWP-D third generation receiver's infrared signal. Just point the front of the transmitter towards the IR window on the receiver. Now, there's actually another method for scanning channels that's good to know about, especially if you need to have more than one or two wireless channels in operation at the same time. By going to and activating the Clear Scan menu, once selected with the Set button, it will flash a plus sign at you, suggesting that you should hit the plus button to start the scan process. After the scan is completed, by hitting the plus button again and repeatedly, you can then scroll through the memory showing the available found channels in order of their quality of choice for selection and pairing with the transmitter. This method can be very useful for finding out which UHF TV channel is most open in any particular location. By repeating this clear channel scan in all three of the band menu choices, and we'll talk about that in just a couple, you can note which band offers the most and quietest available channels according to their dB reading of background noise. The lowest dB rating is the quietest and best to use. Once determined, future scans in that location, or perhaps city, can be done with the simpler NFC sync button in the best band you might have previously found. If only looking for a wireless channel or two, however, the simple NFC scanning method in Group 00 should provide good channel choices. In any case, always scanning for and choosing the best available frequency to use, wherever and whenever you are, will help ensure your best wireless mic experience. For most everyday use, this scanning step with the receiver and setting of the transmitter's channel to match is likely what you'll do most often. There are, however, many other menus and displays that you'll want to learn about, so let's go through them and describe how they function. First is the main display. As we've said, this gives you lots of basic information. You can change both the group and channels in this display. By holding down the Set button, the 2-digit group display will flash. And then by hitting either the plus or minus button, you can scroll through and select the group number. Once set, just hit the Set button to lock in your choice. After that, the 4-digit channel display will flash and let you scroll through the choices, depending on the setting in the band menu that we'll describe shortly. Again, just hit the Set button to lock in your choice if you are manually setting a frequency. Next up, phones or headphone level. Pretty obvious, but depending on your headphones of choice, this control can be useful. Band. Now this requires a bit of explanation. As I mentioned earlier, the UWP-D series is capable of operating over a very wide bandwidth of available frequencies, up to 72 MHz or 12 UHF TV channels to be exact. As these units operate within unused UHF TV channels, ranging from UHF TV 14 up through UHF TV 36, you will have likely chosen one of our packages in either the 14 or 25 range, splitting this large frequency spectrum roughly in half. Now, if you own a UWP-D 21/14 system, it means that your system covers UHF TV channels 14 through 25. The band menu that we're now looking at actually splits this range into further thirds, 14 to 17, 18 to 21, and 22 to 25. This helps keep full scan times manageable, amongst other things. Changing this band menu selection will determine which specific channel range your receiver will scan and operate in. This can be helpful, especially in very crowded city environments, in helping to set up a multi-channel wireless microphone system, but we get into that in a separate video I mentioned earlier. Next is the clear scan menu that we already spoke about. A bit further down in the menu is the out level of the main output jack on the receiver. This is adjustable to plus or minus 12 dB, which can be very useful, especially when feeding a DSLR or mirrorless camera that might not have much of an audio control or menu selection. Next is the Sync RX to TX menu. Activating this manually starts the NFC syncing function with the transmitter, as we demonstrated earlier. After that, though, is the Sync TX to RX menu. Now, this one's a bit unique. It simply allows for the opposite direction of communication, that is, a transmitter to sending its current frequency to a receiver or multiple receivers via the NFC syncing function. One example of why this might be useful is if you are capturing video with multiple cameras and want the same audio to be sent to all cameras from the same transmitter, or if you're using multiple receivers as personal monitoring devices on set that all need to be listening to the same source, for example, the output of an on-set audio mixer. This function allows for very easy setting of these multiple receivers' frequencies without having to go into the manual setting mode of each one. Simply activate this menu and hold each receiver up to the source transmitter's NFC logo. The same NFC pairing vibration confirmation will happen as with the earlier pairing steps. Next, we see the power lock menu. If set to lock, this will prevent turning the unit off unintentionally without an additional menu confirmation. Up next, we see the running time menu. I'm particularly fond of this one as it can really save you some money in the long run. After selecting this by holding down the set button, you can then hit the minus button to reset the count-up timer to 0. Then hit the set button again to store this setting. In other words, every time you put in a fresh set of batteries, be sure to reset this menu to 00. If you used your wireless system for only 2 hours and 43 minutes on today's session, but tomorrow's session is only likely to go for about 2 to 3 hours, you don't have to change the batteries. Of course, you may never really trust your 3-segment battery icon, and if only one of the segments was missing, you'd probably change batteries, but now you have an accurate to-the-minute timer that you can refer to. After only a couple of sets of batteries, you'll learn that you can get many hours of life repeatedly out of 2 AA batteries. As well, this savings in batteries can really mount up in the course of a year. By the way, as we'll cover when using the multi-interface or MI-SHU, you can power the receiver from your camera's batteries, so keeping batteries in your receiver may not even be necessary. The next menu allows you to change from the default simple menu to the advanced menu, giving you access to many additional functions that you might want to use only occasionally. These include monitor mode. This is for when using the receiver as a dedicated on-set personal audio monitor, for example. Since the receiver has a dedicated headphone output, it can be used for any application where one just needs to monitor audio. If it is clipped onto one's belt, this monitor mode can keep the headphone level control active, and all one needs to do is reach down and hit either the plus or minus button to change the headphone level. On set, for example, people such as the director, boom pole operator, logger, or others in Video Village may need to listen to the output of the audio mixer or to a specific talent's mic. And this solution provides for a high-quality wireless signal that can also be frequency coordinated with the other wireless mics on set. Next up is channel memory. This one's also pretty unique. Since this is a single-channel receiver, this setting allows for quickly changing the tuner's frequency to the previous one the unit was tuned to, and back and forth if needed. Think of it like the jump or last button on your TV's remote control. In other words, if you have 2 presenters showing slides, each with their own body pack, you can jump back and forth between their 2 mics. Alternately, if you shoot wedding videos, for example, you can switch between the groom's body pack and the handheld mic that you might pass around to the guests to capture their congratulations. Next up, power source. This setting will determine the power source for the receiver unit if it's mounted on one of our MI or multi-interface enabled cameras with our MI shoe adapter. That chooses either the receiver's onboard batteries or to use the power externally from the camera's battery, or to switch to the alternate supply source if the chosen one runs out. It also allows for choosing to power the unit from a USB-C connected power supply, such as a cell phone charger. Active Scan is a scanning function that will look for any active UWP-D transmitters already in use in a particular band and group, allowing you to quickly choose to listen in to any of the transmitters in a multi-channel mic setup. Once in this menu, hit the plus button to scan for any transmitters and hit Set to select that one. You can also hit the plus button again to search for the next available transmitter, or hit the minus button to cancel out of this function. This can also be useful when using more than one tuner in combination with a single transmitter. Compander mode. Cycling through the options here will allow for compatibility with Sony's legacy wireless units, including past generation UWP series, as well as our WL800 models, for example, for using either a UWP-D receiver with older style transmitters or a UWP-D series transmitter to work with older style Sony receivers. For our purposes here, though, make sure it stays set to UWP-D. Next is a battery choice option, which will allow the unit's 3-segment battery meter to read correctly depending on the type of battery you choose to use. Type 1 is for alkaline batteries, Type 2 is for nickel metal hydride rechargeable batteries, and Type 3 is for lithium batteries. The display mode setting changes the behavior of the OLED display when 30 seconds have elapsed without any button activity. In auto off, the display will turn off if no buttons are pressed for 30 seconds. Just press a button to turn on the display again. In dimmer mode, if no button is pressed for 30 seconds, the display will dim. Hit any button to bring it back to normal brightness again. Following that is the brightness menu, which simply adjusts the display contrast that suits you best. And next, a factory reset menu that will restore the factory default parameters of the receiver. Finally, the last menu displays the current software revision. Well, that's it for the receiver's operation and menu. Since the 4th generation of the UWP-D series have added quite a few new features, and they all deserve explanation, we'll concentrate on the transmitter's operation in the next video. By the way, if you'd like additional information on any of our Sony professional audio products, just go to pro.sony/audio. And thanks for watching.